Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Basketball Bulletin. I am Trevor Lane, joined by Donnie Freeman. Got a lot to talk about today. Craziness going on with ESPN's top 100 ranking, but maybe not in the way you expect. Angel Reese can't do math. Talk a little bit about that, too. And Lonzo Ball makes his return to the court. But first, Donnie, Kawhi Leonard out for the beginning of the season. We talked about this on our latest video, but this could wind up being a big deal for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Donnie, are the Thunder going to just fall backwards into another lottery pick here?
Could you? Oh my God! Can you imagine them with another lottery pick on this team? That's just
Especially
goodness.
in this year's draft.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. We talked about how the Kawhi situation, we don't really know what direction the Clippers are going to have to go. But one thing I think we agreed on for sure was that they aren't going to be anywhere in contention for the playoffs if he's not able to be healthy. And maybe he will be, but right now it's not looking like he'll play very many games. And so that could wind up with the ping pong balls bouncing in a certain direction, and OKC could walk out as the big winners from this trade that they made for PG all the way back when.
Oh, I think they're already the big one. They got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out of the deal, but if they wind up with a lottery pick in this year's draft, where we've got teams salivating over not just Cooper Flagg, capture the flag, but there's a number of other players in this draft. Good Lord, OKC already has a phenomenal team. If the Clippers really do fall flat on their faces this year, and OKC has swap rights from that Paul George trade, OKC could have a really good team.
Are they just going to win the next 5 championships at that point? What's going on? Do we know what the other picks have conveyed as, by the way, over the last several years?
Yeah, I'm sure that's all compiled somewhere, but I don't have that right now in front of me. But I think they very clearly won the Paul George trade. Unbelievable. And now this is going to be the gift that keeps on giving here. And they've got that swap right, which look how convoluted the swap situation is for OKC, because they trade portions of protected picks and all kinds of things, but they've got the right to swap for the Clippers pick, and that could wind up being a very valuable asset for them, whether they want to trade it or actually use it on another young player. This OKC team, they're already loaded. They're already favored to win the West, and they could wind up getting another top pick if the Clippers do struggle the way that we think that they might. But we've got a lot to get into on this show today, Donnie. A lot of different topics. And one of the things that I want to kick things off with, it's ESPN's top 100 and how people are responding to this. It's not, you know what? I've seen a lot of this, Donnie, where people are posting clips, posting screenshots of ESPN's top 100 list, and they're bemoaning how terrible it is and how bad ESPN is and how none of this makes any sense. And can you believe they put this player over that player, and what are they thinking? And bro with a bunch of crying face emojis and all kinds of stuff that people are putting out there. And all I can think is ESPN is just smiling away, because that's exactly the whole point of a list like this. They publish their top 100 list. They want people to freak out. They want this kind of reaction to these lists. I don't know. Donnie, do you take any value when ESPN does? And there's other outlets that do it too. But when they do stuff like this?
I mean, peek behind the curtain, basically it's free promotion, right? If you take something that somebody else says or does and you just plaster it on all these different platforms, you're going to wind up promoting that person's content inadvertently. So for them, they're purposely doing this so people get mad and get them trending and all this stuff. And then that just makes things better for them. So they'll deal with the rage if it means they get better numbers. And so to answer your question, no, I don't. I mean, setting aside the gaming of the system part of it, this type of stuff is always so subjective anyway. I don't really pay much attention to it for what anybody says in particular, what they think their top 10 is, unless there's something egregious, like I don't know, it's just a random name. Let's say Chris Paul is in the top 10. Okay, well then, sure. But other than that, I mean, it is what it is.
Somewhere in a deep, dark dungeon in NBA headquarters, where Zach Lowe's body is still warm, they've got a padded room, soundproofed, set off to the side for Stephen A. Smith. Kendrick Perkins is down there signing his new contract, stepping over Zach Lowe to do it, apparently. And you've got a room full of writers in there. probably by candlelight, that are putting together this list. And then I just imagined they put together a real list and then they just move a few. Just a few key ones, a few players, just flip flop a few guys, put Anthony Davis back a few spots, make Lakers fans mad, move up Kevin Durant a little bit, move some players around enough to get people mad and outraged and all that. And it's funny when I see people going online so upset about this and carrying on this conversation. I think all they're doing is all that room full of ESPN folks that put this together, they're laughing their heads off because this is exactly the point. The point is to get a reaction. And that's it. They want people to post it and go, can you believe this player is over this player? And then in the comments, everybody's going to say, no, he should be because blah, blah, blah. No, he shouldn't because of this, this, this. And usually it's not even that nuanced of a discourse, especially when we're getting into social media. But it always amazes me that lists like this get put out and people fall for it. And it's just a sign of where we're at in terms of sports media right now. It's about getting that crazy reaction that, can you believe they just did this? And yet people don't see through it. I don't get it, Donnie.
Yeah, you kind of talked about it very briefly there, but that also is why ESPN as a network has shifted focuses to somebody like Perkins, who gets aggregated all over the place for crazy things he says, and they're purposely leaning more into trying to get more rage bait out there, trying to get more just crazy takes, and that's what sports coverage has largely become on the internet over the last 5, 6, 7, 10 years or so. And so that being said, that's kind of why they're transitioning that way. And yeah, with the list like this, I mean, like I said, I don't really, because it's just, I can't get mad at it. Whether I know what they're trying to pull or not, I can't really get mad at it because people just have their own opinions. But I do think that they probably purposely just move players around, like you said. I mean, as watching the Lakers pretty consistently, it's pretty hard to say LeBron is, I think, 6 spots better than Anthony Davis. There were some advanced metrics that favor LeBron heavily on this team as the best player or the most important player. But there are also those that favor Anthony Davis, and the eye test and the roster construction will tell you it's Anthony Davis. But regardless, 6 spaces is kind of criminal. Both of these guys are right neck and neck, in my opinion, depending on how you look at it. So there's a number of different things. Like, I also, like, just personally, I think he can be top 10 this year. I'm just not sure if Ant is 10 yet. I'm also not sure if Wemby. Yeah, I'm also not sure if Wemby is better yet than Anthony Davis and Brunson too. It's just it's some projecting here, so I'm not really sure like what the goal is. Maybe it is to project, but I think you could shuffle some of this stuff around. I don't like Embiid personally at, like, where was he at 8? I think he could go up higher than that. I think you could probably make an argument for a lot of this just list overall. But again, my opinion. Maybe people disagree and think I'm crazy for the things I've said, even in the last minute. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And there can be, look, I'm not mad at ESPN here. This is absolutely what they should be doing because they're going to get all that engagement. They're going to get people responding to it. And you're right. You could turn this into a nuanced conversation about a player and where their value comes from and everything. You just see a lot of it devolves into the basic, I can't believe they did this, bro. What's this all about? Crazy. That kind of stuff. But yeah, this is, again, smart by ESPN. It's unfortunate in a way that this is what sports media has devolved into, that you get 60 seconds, say something that people will react strongly to one way or another. Either have people think you're the biggest idiot in the world or have people saying, yes, you're absolutely right. And ideally have it be about 50-50 between those two things. If you could do that, you can get on to ESPN now at this point because that's what they want. That's what they want. They want that kind of a reaction, and that's it. That's what they're going for now. But again, this kind of stuff, super effective at getting that. And like I said, it still amazes me that that people just don't seem to see through and understand that when you react that way, that's exactly what they want. Now, again, you can get into a much more nuanced conversation here about these players and who should rank where and all of that. I think you're absolutely right on the AD and LeBron thing. They should be much, much closer, maybe even flip-flopped. And we could certainly have a full conversation about that.
I got to hold your feet to the fire, Trev. I can't be the only one that goes off on a ledge here. You gotta make some arguments about this just because, I put myself out there. Make some arguments for some of these guys on this list. Do you like Embiid at 8? Do you like the number 1 selection? Just make a few comments. I got to hear something.
I think that I would flip flop LeBron and AD. I think I would flip flop those two. I think Jason Tatum is getting credit for the Boston Celtics as a team being so good, just like when Marcus Smart won Defensive Player of the Year. He got credit for being on a really, really good defensive team. SGA, I have no problem with him being at 4. Giannis, you could argue, should be 1 or 2. And I'm not going to argue against the reigning MVP being number 1, though. And Luka is going to be fantastic. What's that?
What about 10 and 11?
Anthony Edwards, I think it's too much too soon. I think it's hyping him. But again, this is ESPN, and look, clearly the NBA, they're pushing Anthony Edwards to be one of, if not their next big star, right? Wemby's being another one too, but Anthony Edwards being pushed as high as he is, he's also being featured on opening night against LeBron and the Lakers, which is one of the most guaranteed draws in terms of viewership. So it makes sense that there's this push to, hey, let's make sure that Anthony Edwards is in the spotlight. Who the hell knows, Donnie? And maybe when they first made this list, Anthony Edwards was like 15, 16, something like that. And then they went, well, but the NBA is pushing him. Let's slide him up a bit, and we'll get a bunch of people pissed off, and that'll benefit us in the long run. But yeah, I think it's a little bit too high. It's putting expectations too high on Anthony Edwards, who still has flaws in his game, despite being an incredibly, incredibly talented player.
I don't think that it's egregious to put him there by any means. I think it may be a year or two too soon. I think he could show that he's that this year. He could show that he's better than 10 this year because he has been on a rocket ascension. But I feel that same way about several of the young guys that are in that 10 to 20 range where it's like, So, but regardless, though, that's the next phase. What I really like was that Luka is all the way up there 1 and 2 with Jokic. I thought that was fine. Giannis, I think, you could maybe make an argument for him either way. But I like the top 5 for the most part. I think last year they had Embiid at 5. They lowered him because of injuries. Okay, maybe. I think Tatum, like you said, I think Tatum is in that top 8. I just probably would have him in Embiid switch personally.
Is it any surprise it's Bontemps who wrote up the Tatum?
Stop. Right up Stop.
He's got. I mean, when we want to talk East Coast bias, come on.
Yeah, I like Curry at 6. That's mostly fine.
Oh yeah. I mean, imagine the cackling that was echoing through ESPN's cavernous hallways when they slid Curry ahead of LeBron.
Yeah. They definitely did that on purpose. I don't have any opinions on which way. But they definitely did the Curry in front on purpose. That's pretty bad when you say you could actually see Anthony Davis and LeBron switching and then Curry at 6. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I think about it in terms of importance to the team. Anthony Davis, you could put him ahead, especially AD gets no love, though, from the voters for Defensive Player of the Year and all that. But anyway, everybody, let us know your thoughts. Is ESPN just masterful when it comes to rage baiting responses? And do you have a real and actually nuanced take beyond just laughing at the responses or the order for ESPN? Let us know in the comments. What do you think about the order of things here on ESPN's top 100 list? All right, let's move on to an actual feel-good story here. Lonzo Ball returns to action for the Chicago Bulls. And check this out. So not only we've got highlights here of Lonzo. He looked good. Now, he has said he is not the same dude. He's come out and said, I'm not the same guy. My knee, he hasn't played in nearly 3 years in an NBA game. He said, I'm not the same guy. And I think it's going to take some time. But, man, there were some plays in this game, Tony, where, like, Lonzo, and here's his first 3, wide open, knocks it down. Lonzo, like, went crashing off the floor. He must be pretty confident in his knee to, in a preseason game, put his body on the line to save a ball from going out of bounds, given his injury history. That gives me hope that there's some sustainability here. He's not going to play back-to-backs, but Lonzo can be a difference maker. I don't know if he's a long-term fit. Let's say Lonzo comes back and he's what he used to be, and I don't think he's going to be, but if let's say he's 85% of what he used to be. Is he a long-term piece for the Bulls?
How old is Lonzo now? About 26?
20
somewhere in that area.
27? Let me double check.
Yeah, somewhere in that area. Because that does matter, of course.
Yes, you're right. 26 years old.
Okay. I mean,
he'll be 27 in a couple weeks. He'll be 27.
Okay, immediate future, sure, but long term, if I'm the Bulls, I'm probably looking to get off of him and all the guys that are 26 and above, 25 and above. I'm probably trying to look to get off of just to transition into a rebuild and get going with some younger guys and see what you have with some of these other guards that they have that are younger than Lonzo and the team. Yeah, that was
flying
awesome.
off the court. Look at his teammates catching him.
Do you know the specific thing? Like, did he get cartilage implants? Is that what it was?
Yeah, replaced. And I mean, obviously there were some moments there where with this cartilage surgery that he had, where I mean, I remember Keith and I on the front office show talking about this. We were concerned about just, his life in general, just being mobile and walking around more so than is he ever going to get back on a basketball floor. So, I mean, an incredible accomplishment just to see him back on the court, but he's got an expiring salary that pays him just over $20 million this year. Mm-hmm. Like, if he winds up being healthy all season, like let's say into January, it wouldn't shock me, even though he's not going to play in back-to-backs and all that, it wouldn't shock me if a few teams called on him, because there's a lot of teams that could use a defensive guard the way Lonzo can be.
I think Lonzo actually really is a good piece for a lot of teams to try to target if he is healthy. I mean, with the expectation that he's not going to play back-to-backs, probably won't for the rest of his career, if we're being honest, if they want to just maintain his health and keep him out there, because it's better to have him out there every other game. And it's not every other game because there's only 10, 15, somewhere in that range, 15, 17 back-to-backs. Yeah. It's not like it's every other game. He's out there for the vast majority of the season if he's healthy. And so it's better to have him there than to just sacrifice, and have to sacrifice those games to not have him. I think that he's a nice plus player for a lot of teams to just slide in, whether starting or off the bench. 3-and-D guard that has some playmaking chops. I think that a lot of teams would be interested in Lonzo's archetype because he does have that amazing frame. He's got the defensive ability there. We need to see if he's still fully got it the way that he did prior, right?
Long way to go for that.
Yeah, and he did develop into a great shooter before he got injured as well. He really turned things around on that front. And so I think that and we already know that he was a playmaking guard. I think that archetype of player, he could wind up being a bargain player for some teams, whether, again, starting or off the bench. So I think that this is projecting a bit, but a lot of teams that are hoping to make something out of the season and not just trying to tank or, looking towards draft picks or whatever the case is, they could be pretty interested in Lonzo, I think, going forward.
Donnie, I know this is going to be crazy, but if come January, Lonzo has had no setbacks and he's looked as good as he did in his first preseason game the whole time, he would be a great fit for the Lakers. It sounds crazy, right? But he would. Isn't he the exact kind of guard, if he's at his best, that would fit next to either Austin or D'Lo?
Yeah, and would fit great with LeBron. Shoot, he honestly did in the first stint there too. So Lonzo would be a good pick for the Lakers to try to get if he is healthy and he looks good. But that's a long way to go. But yeah, don't get me excited, because I'd actually low-key get pretty excited if he was on the team.
That would be it, and I hope a long way to go for him to prove that he can stay there on the floor. By the way, check this out. Kobe White here.
So, it's a blessing to be part of his journey. A lot of us being here through it all, and seeing the highs, the lows. So this was a hell of a night for him. He got the game ball, brother. So, you know what I'm saying?
I love that. I love that. The team awards Lonzo the game ball coming back. Again, hasn't played in an NBA game. In January, it would have been 3 years. That's how long it's been since he's played an NBA game. That's absolutely incredible for him to come back. All right. Let's talk a little bit about, the thing that everybody's buzzing about. Angel Reese had some comments about her salary in the WNBA and what it means when it comes to actually paying rent. Here's what Angel Reese had to say, and I think this says something about financial literacy in this country. Let's check this out.
I just hope y'all know the WNBA don't pay my bills at all. I don't even think that pays one of my bills. Literally. I'm trying to think of my rent for where I stay at. Let me do the math real quick.
Pay might cover that. Yeah,
It
covers that. It definitely covers that.
What is my? I don't even know my salary. 74. Okay.
Okay, like I just have to pause there. I don't know my salary. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. Okay, but we'll continue on here. But you need to know what your salary is. That's for sure.
Times.
Here, I'll do it.
Yeah. I don't even know my salary. Does it? Let me see. You don't even. Yo, I'm living beyond my means. It's like. No, my rent is more than that. It's 8,000.
Oh.
I'm living beyond my means. Like y'all think, babe. If y'all thought, it's like, let me see.
Okay, so her rent is $8,000 a month. Her WNBA contract is $74,000. $8,000 a month is not covered by that WNBA contract. And I know the point of this, and Donnie, I don't know where you fall on this issue, but the point of her putting this out there is for everybody to go, she only makes $74,000. This is so awful. Why does she not make more money? Why does the WNBA not pay her more and all of that? Well, first of all, WNBA salaries, guess what's going to happen? They're going to go up based on what's happened this season. We saw what happened with Sabrina Ionescu last night. Obviously, the Caitlin Clark effect this season, all of that. This is for everybody to get angry and say WNBA players should be paid more. The problem is their salaries are going to be tied to how much revenue is brought in. The league has to make money in order for players to make more. And I think they're heading in that direction. That's the trajectory they're on right now, which is fantastic. That salary is not going to stay there forever. I don't know. Donnie, how do you feel about this? The whole, well, she's only making $74,000. That's criminal. She should be making more, all of that.
Yeah, I don't know the context of that. Was she on Instagram Live or something like that? It kind of looked
I
like
believe
she might
so.
have been. So or maybe TikTok, I'm not sure. But yeah, that could also matter. Just quick disclaimer, I guess. Maybe the context matters. In terms of the overall, I just did some quick maths while that was going. And you said 73,000 is her annual salary here. She makes annual over, she's got a 4-year contract, 324,000. She's making about $6,100 per month. So yeah, it's not covering it at all. It's not.
Right.
And you can get into a whole separate argument about, and by the way, that's just the number. Maybe there's more taken off the top of that. We don't know. But you can get in a whole separate argument about whether or not they should make more money, because they should, right? And like you said, hopefully it is transitioning that way. We do think it is with some of the things that happened this year. I think this year might have been the most talked about I've ever seen WNBA just online. And so that's got to be indicative of where this is going for them. And hopefully they're able to reap the benefits of that sooner than later, because they do need to make more money as a league in order for the players to make more money. I saw some posts that came out when earlier this offseason, and it was here's Caitlin Clark's salary versus Wemby's salary. And it's just a huge chasm. It's basically, and that's just a product of how much they make collectively. So hopefully that, evens out in the future for these guys. And that is a big thing about this. But I think it's also a point in terms of Angel, where it's she is, and a lot of these women also are making a lot of money from brand deals or, other online opportunities. And Angel has been trending for some of those other opportunities recently on Twitter, I've seen. But that's more or less what it is with them, where they're trying to pursue endeavors away from basketball, because basketball isn't paying the bills. Where I thought that was kind of weird was she was like, I don't know that pays one of my bills. I'm like, I don't. What bills you got? It can't pay your phone bill. What?
If you can't pay your phone bill, that's a problem. Yeah. What are you doing here? Are you running Disneyland with out of your extension socket here or something, or light socket? Is that what's happening? Yeah, because she should be able to cover basic utilities off of her WNBA salary. I'll tell you what, and by the way, this is what happened last night. Sabrina Ionescu. I mean, you can see this play is being run for Breanna Stewart to get the ball rolling to the rim. You've got let me fast forward ahead here.
Yeah,
Here we go. Here it is. Yep. So they're going to run play here. for Breanna Stewart to get the ball rolling to the rim. Sabrina Ionescu, though, saw the opening, deep three, essentially to win the game. 1 second on the clock. She knocks that out. Look, when if stuff like that is happening in the WNBA, they're all going to start making more money. Like that's coming. Revenue's going to go. I mean, beyond just the Caitlin Clark stuff, when you've got amazing things like that happening, revenue's going up, and that means salaries are going to go up. It's same thing in the NBA. People say, well, why does this guy make $60 million? Because he's making a percentage of the cap, and that's how much revenue the NBA is making. That's the way it goes. It's all tied to revenue. The revenue is going to go up. Her salary is going to go up. It's disturbing, though, that she doesn't, on two fronts here. She doesn't know how much she makes on her WNBA salary. She has to check on that. On one hand, she should know that. That's pretty important. And if that is her main source of income, then she is incredibly financially illiterate if she has an $8,000 a month rent on that salary, because that's absolutely insane. And a lot of people have spoken out and said, well, she shouldn't be paying $8,000 a month. She needs to find a place that costs less. I don't know. Like, if you're Angel Reese, she's famous enough to where you need to worry about security at your building and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's a factor. You have to pay for that. Like, that's got to be something that's important to her as well. So I'm not even going to fault her for the $8,000 a month thing. But I think the other piece to this, because I don't think she's just the worst financial planner ever, I think it's odd that she doesn't know what her WNBA salary is off the top of her head. Just look it up. But maybe that speaks to how well she is doing in all of these brand deals and endorsements, that $8,000 a month just in rent, forget other expenses, is doable for her on a $74,000 a year salary. That tells you how well she's doing. And in that sense, bravo for marketing yourself that way. Although I know some people will take issue with maybe some less scrupulous things that have come out recently in terms of the opportunities that she's taking. But still, that goes to show, if that's what she's paying, and clearly it's not, putting her in a terrible situation financially, that tells you how well she's doing in other areas aside from the WNBA.
Yeah, I think I would lean more towards that, because even if you're not as financial savvy, you've got to have people in your corner that are at least managing that for you when you get to the level where she's at in terms of fame, popularity, and the amount of money you potentially are bringing in. What I think it is it's more so that her WNBA salary is so low, right? Quotes up, that it's not her primary source of income. I think that's more so what it is, and it's more like a secondary thing. Maybe it's a savings, or maybe it's pocket change for her. I don't know, but I don't think that it's her primary source of income. It's just more or less a means to an end, because she, by way of being popular, being in the WNBA, has been presented more opportunities to make more money elsewhere. And so I think that's probably more so what it is, and that she's just doing so well in her other endeavors that she's not really paying much attention to the WNBA. That's not to say anything about how interested she is in playing or, progressing as a player, or any of that stuff. But just in terms of the money she's making, I do think that's more so what it is.
And you know what? People will look at that and they'll point to that and go, see, WNBA salaries need to be more if she's making that much more money on sponsorships. That's nothing new. Look at the NBA. Michael Jordan made way more money off of Air Jordans than his NBA salaries. Look at LeBron and all the money he's made outside of basketball. A lot of these guys make more money on their shoe deals and everything else than they do from their NBA contracts. And so it would make sense that the same holds true with the WNBA. Again, though, on the positive, clearly she can afford that $8,000 a month rent despite what her WNBA salary is. So good on her for that. And on top of that, I think with what we've seen from the WNBA, which is really, really cool, they are on a fantastic trajectory right now with all the Caitlin Clark stuff. When you've got Sabrina hitting shots like she did last night, it's going to draw a lot of attention to the league. And that $74,000 salary, that is going to be left in the dust, I think, in the very near future.
Yeah, no, I agree. Last thing I kind of thought about was how she was poking fun at the fact that people were saying or thinking that she's living beyond her means. That, if you, a little bit of reading between the lines tells me that she's all right. Like, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, because she wouldn't be poking fun at that if she wasn't, able to to meet the financial requirements for whatever crazy bill she has on the side and that $8,000 apartment. So,
well, and I think, financial literacy is something that's important. And I ultimately don't think that she is, planning terribly, financially or anything like that. I think it does speak to how much she's making off the court. But in general, in this country, I think financial literacy needs to be much better. I think kids need to be taught about investing. Kids need to be taught about managing money, about budgeting.
Absolutely.
Beyond just, I used to teach, and I mean, there were lessons in there about how to write a check. I don't know the last time I wrote a check. Like, we need to focus more on real world stuff that in everyday life that's updated for today. Kids need to understand compound interest and how it can work for you, how it can also work against you. Auto loans,
how to file
mortgages, how to file taxes. Good Lord. That is a difficult situation. There needs to be more real world education. And so that's more when I see stuff like this. And my initial reaction, she says, "Oh, I don't know what my salary is." I think, oh God, no, you need to know what your salary is. But again, I'm going to take this to the positive side and say her WNBA salary is such a small fraction of her overall earnings that it's not significant to her. And so she's not paying as much attention to it. But just as a general comment, I think there is a great need for financial literacy, and it's important that that's something that continues to be explored, and something that it is. I would like to see school systems do better with all of that kind of stuff to truly prepare kids, because there are a lot of predatory loans and things like that out there. Not to get into the whole Kendrick Perkins thing with the NIL deal from last week, but there's a lot of that out there that people just don't know any better, and they wind up putting themselves in really bad situations. So I do think that is a bigger topic for the entire country. With Angel Reese specifically, there's been this big backlash and everything off of her comments. But again, I really do think it mostly speaks to the fact that, and bravo for her, she's doing really well away from the WNBA.
Yeah, no, I agree. I had totally forgot about Perkins. Man. Oh, man. But yeah, no, I agree. I think that she's doing great otherwise. So, and either way, like I said, everything you said is true, factual, right? We do need more just knowledge on finances in there, because I remember coming out of school and not really knowing all too much about anything.
Yeah.
So
Same.
It is what it is at all. Like it was just, you kind of figure that out through life experiences, or hopefully you've got people around you. So in case of Angel, whether she did or didn't get that education, hopefully she's got the people around her that won't backstab her and can help her with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everybody, make sure you do subscribe to the Basketball Bulletin on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 6,000 subscribers ahead of the season. Don't forget to like this video as well. See ya and stay safe.